We're talking college basketball. It's March Madness. It's a Friday morning. Thanks for tuning in. Jim Feist, Greg DePalma, as we take a look at round one, day two of the NCAA March Madness tournament. And we want to thank everybody for joining us here. We are going to actually be back again later on today as we preview the round two action for Saturday's games. And then we're going to kind of keep that kind of late in the day schedule for the next couple of days. Don't forget, we're also going to be on live on Monday night. Andy Isco has already promised to be on this time. Hopefully Tony Mejia will join us. We'll see if Mark Lawrence will join us. Of course, Jim and I will be there, and we'll be taking a look at the Sweet 16 matchups. We'll give you some early analysis on that, but we have a bunch of games to go through here, Jim, as day one, round one is in the books.
Well, we go into day two, round one. And what did we learn from day one, if anything? I know they're different games. What I learned from day one, after talking to some very sharp players last night, and their theory was, and this one guy went 6-0 with all favorites. And his theory was there's so much interest in picking underdogs that are going to upset these big guys. And with the portal, with the nil, some of the lower teams have been decimated by players leaving for bigger money and bigger opportunity that they think they have. Some of these underdogs are not quite as good as we think they are.
Well, I think we'll know that tomorrow, because when I looked at the games for Thursday and Friday, and your guy is probably, well, not probably, your guy knows more than me. But my guess was, I don't know about you, but when I was looking at the games on Thursday and Friday and I was trying to figure out what games I liked most of the games as far as upsets today. I didn't really like the game for upsets on Thursday. I didn't think there were a lot of opportunities for them, but I think there are more opportunities for upsets today. Now, whether that happens or not, we'll find out tomorrow, or, we'll have an opportunity to dissect that. But, we'll see. What do you think? I mean, did you feel that same way? Because, again, I'm looking at, and we'll get into these games, but I think there's a possibility for maybe, 3-4 upsets today that we didn't get yesterday.
Well, we had a couple close calls for upsets covering. Let's just say not straight up winning, but covering. Like Yale, for example, close.
We had Drake and McNeese. Those were the two. What were they? Both about 7-point dogs?
Yeah, they did make it, and they did win. They did win the game straight up. But I mean, you had some. I don't know. It's always going to be a mixed bag. The question is, and the question behind the statement that I made is, are the odds makers and the bettors, because the bettors do make the line eventually. Mm-hmm. Odds maker can put up a line 8 and they'll bet it down to 6.5. That's the players, the bettors, making those adjustments. So with that much money coming in on some of these underdogs, some of these favorite prices are getting too cheap. And so I talked to this guy last night, and he's a substantial $10,000 to $15,000 a game better. He's definitely nobody you want to stand in front of. I know that. That's why I called him. And I asked him what he had, and he had 6 plays. They were all favorites, and they all won. Now, he had some of the biggest bet. I mean, the big numbers. He liked St. John's and stuff.
Okay.
He laid some big numbers. He was not afraid of laying those monster numbers, which is an interesting thing. We don't really get in front of guys that are laying 27 and 28 and stuff like that. But when you look at the results, that's something to think about. The odds makers have made them, 20 plus, and the dogs just aren't even capable of staying close.
Well, and the other thing too is that when we were going over those trends where 15 seeds have beaten 2 seeds and so forth, that we were going, you know what, I'm not seeing a good 15 seed this year. I can't see it. So again, I think there are those situations where, like you said, maybe those really big numbers. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the numbers on some of these upsets that I think could happen today.
Okay.
Not that that's going to be the case here with our first couple of games,
Well,
because this is one of those games right here. That is what you're talking about, right? Is that he'll probably go with Alabama or something like that because they're a big 22-point favorite? Is that what you're saying?
well, our first game I think is Baylor, but
I'm just saying about this being the big number.
Yeah, when you look at it, when you look at a Florida over Norfolk, I mean you're looking.
That's what you're talking about. That's what he's going with.
That type of situation.
Okay.
It seems like that like they're just not in the same ballgame.
Okay.
And it really depends on whether the favorite really wants to kill him or not, and the other team really doesn't have any chance.
Well, hey, you know what? When you're taking teams to win and they're favored by that much, usually they are that much better, and it's not a bad idea to go with a team that is that much better. All right, so let's start with this Baylor Mississippi State matchup, and you see here both teams not very good against the spread. The thing I noticed here is you have a Baylor team that has actually, and I got this from the newsletter, which you will still be able to pick up. It's not too late. Get the newsletter. We have it in the link in the description. Mark Clarence's playbook newsletter for the tournament. Baylor has won 6 straight round 1 games in the NCAA tournament, for what that's worth. But the reason I'm also picking Baylor in this one has more to do with the fact that Mississippi State has not played particularly well towards the end of the season. 7-11 in their last 18, 2-5 in their last 7. I also think they have a big advantage with their coach. Scott Drew, of course, has won a championship. He's 20-11 in the tournaments. Chris Jans is only 1-5. And Baylor has lost 6 games by 4 or less this year and won 4 by 5 or less and 3-1 in overtime, meaning they are used to playing in a lot of big, close basketball games, and they're more talented than Mississippi State. It's just a matter of, can Baylor kind of put it together at the right time? They haven't had that type of season a lot of people expected, but I'm going to go ahead and take them in this one.
I don't disagree. I mean, they did lose a 2-point game to Texas Tech, but Texas Tech's a very talented club.
Yeah, that was a good loss. Yeah,
and they've had a long time to rest. I mean, they played 8 days ago. And that's somewhat of a positive. Well, so did Mississippi. Now they played Auburn, which is also their SEC team, and they're a tough matchup as well. They lost to Missouri and Auburn back to back. This team can play. I mean, this is one of those games where anybody can win it. It's 20-13 team against an 18-14 team. What's the latest number we're looking at? Because
1.5.
My one screen isn't opening up. I don't know why it's sleeping. I guess because it's only 6 o'clock here.
It's Mississippi State 1.5.
Yeah, I toss up game. I favor like you do. I favor Baylor. I think you got a little bit of an edge for Baylor, but all 3 of my numbers indicate that Baylor should be the winner.
Okay, let's go to that Alabama Robert Morris matchup. Robert Morris, the winner from the Horizon. And here's another tidbit from Mark's newsletter. Robert Morris, representing the Horizon. The Horizon has covered 3 straight round 1 games. So they're going to look to make it 4 straight. And why not, considering Robert Morris is 25-7 this year against the spread. So they're an excellent spread team. Alabama is also a pretty decent spread team themselves. Of course, we know what kind of an offense Alabama has. In this matchup, though, they're playing a Robert Morris team that has won 16 of their last 17, covering 15 of those last 17. Alabama, meanwhile, comes in, SEC, mind you, 4-5 straight up, 5-4 against the spread in their last 9. So they are not playing their best basketball of the year. And that's why I'm going to go ahead and take the points in this one. I figure Robert Morris might be able to catch Alabama with their weak defense and maybe cover the game.
Let me show you. This comes down. This team, Alabama's power rating is 30 points higher than Robert Morris.
That's
30.
all it should be. Yes.
30. So when we talk about the numbers that you give out, let's look at the power ratings of the teams that Robert Morris has been playing. I'm going to go back to February. And these are the power ratings of the teams Robert Morris has been playing. 64, 44, 73, 64, 64, 63, and 75. The 75 was Youngstown State. Now, let's compare that to what Alabama's been playing. Going back to the same basic, the 15th. 93, 94, 92, 80. 93, 95, 94, 94, 98. Now, you got a 30-point difference or more in almost every power rating that Alabama's been playing versus Robert Morris has been playing.
Sure.
You talk about a mismatch. This is exactly what I was talking about the person I talked to.
That's what I just said. Yeah. When we started this with them. Yeah. This is that number.
It's such a mismatch in quality of opposition that I don't know how the hell you compare them. So when you go back, let's take a look at, did Robert Morris play anybody of
Yeah,
this
they played they lost by they lost to West Virginia. That's the only
30.
team. That's
by
it.
30 or 28 points.
Yeah, that's the only team. That's the only one.
Well, yeah, that's the only team they played all year with anybody near that kind of a rating.
And again, that was the first game of the season. Yeah.
Okay, but they didn't play anybody the rest of the way.
No.
Nobody.
Nobody's debating who's the much better team here.
In Alabama aren't they the highest scoring team in basketball or
something like that? Yeah, and they also give up a lot of points. Yep.
Yeah, their defense isn't. They don't play defense. It's optional. No. So,
but the question is, do you feel that they are going to demolish this team by 30? Or will it be one of those games that, you're probably just going to stay away from because you think it might be in the 20s? And then it comes down to free throws.
But what's the number on this number?
22.
Game? Okay, and what's the total?
The total is, where's the total? 165.5.
Okay. Now, let me find that. Alabama went over 18 out of 32 games, and Robert Morris went over 19 out of 33 games. I have to look at this game to go over the spread. B, I cannot take the points with Robert Morris with the potential of a 30-point blowout. Now, it really comes down to Alabama. If their head's in the game and they want to play, it's not going to be close.
Yep, that's the truth. That is most likely what's going to happen.
Now this is go back to the conversation.
Do we really want to be spending 10 minutes on the Alabama Robert Morris game?
Well, I want to make the players winner.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't give a shit how many games we cover.
We're covering all of them, so we have a long way to go.
I know we are, whether we take 2 hours or not.
We're not taking 2 hours. No.
Okay. But my point is, I want to make the players understand. I pick somebody's brain. And he played these kind of games.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he went 6-0 at 10 to 15.
So it's up to you if you want to do that again, or
I have to respect that kind of thinking.
So did he say he was going to do the same thing today?
He didn't tell me.
All right, well then we don't know.
But I don't think after going 6-0, I don't think he's going to change.
But like I said, again, I'm not him. I'm not a professional, but I believe the Dogs are much better today than they were yesterday. That's what I thought before I started the whole tournament, looking at both days.
Maybe that's the case, but are they better in this game?
Absolutely. We have no idea. And we know, like you said, if Alabama wants to win by 30, they will win by 30.
I'm gonna play Alabama and over.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing, because this gentleman taught me a little bit of a lesson.
Well, again, you don't know if he's doing that today, but okay.
Well, if you go 6-0, why? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay. Again, the matchups are always different. So, but we will see. Obviously we're going to find out what he does at some point when we talk again, hopefully later or tomorrow, and then we'll find out, what that strategy was. But at least, look, the viewers get the opportunity to decide right there if they want to follow that trend, if they believe he's going to do it again.
I'm only here to pass on information. That's all I'm here for.
But, I wish we knew if he was going to do it again. That would be more.
I guarantee you will.
Okay, then there you go. All right. Now, this is not one of those games because it's only 14. Lipscomb and Iowa State. And this is the Atlantic Sun champ against the Cyclones, who are going to be playing this game without Keyshawn Gilbert, their top assist man. And this is also an Iowa State team that has not played particularly well down the stretch. They've had those injuries, 3-4 in their last 7. They lost to Oklahoma State and Kansas State by double-digit favorites. Lipscomb, meanwhile, has won 11 out of 12. They've got 5 players in double figures. 4 of their top players are seniors. They are 3-1-2 against the spread as dogs this year. But their only loss in that situation was against one of the marquee teams, losing to Kentucky by 29 as a 21-point dog. They did push as a 16-point road dog at Arkansas earlier this year as well. This is actually one of the games that I am taking for an outright upset. You're always trying to find, again, like you said, we're always trying to find those day 1 or day 2 double-digit upsets. You never know where they're going to come from. And so I'm going to take a stab at Lipscomb here. Again, just because Iowa State's down in big man, plus the fact they're not playing well, and most importantly, because they've already blown 2 games this year as double-digit favorites.
Iowa State's a little bit banged up with the one player, but at this time of year, there's a lot of injuries with a lot of teams. This is more competitive, way more competitive than the other game looks to be. I totally agree. Lipscomb plus the points is the right play here.
Okay. Next up, let's go to here's the big one: Colorado State and Memphis. We're waiting for this one.
How many Mountain West teams have played so far, and how they've done?
All right. Here's the problem. We've had 2 Mountain West Conference teams play, and they both got blown out. Here's the problem. I don't think either one of those teams – I wouldn't have blinked if either one of those teams didn't get in because they were not playing well at the end of the year. The 2 teams that were, New Mexico was the best team all season, and Colorado State was red hot. So I think it's hard for us to tell. I think the only thing – I think it was a no-win situation. I think the only thing that could have happened is if San Diego State and Utah State played better than expected, then it would have been like, oh, forget it. Now Colorado State and New Mexico are going to be dangerous. But I don't think we learned anything. That's just my take because I don't think either one of those teams were playing well anyway.
Well, one of the things we have to go back to, there's a writer for VSiN, Steve Mackinnon, who I think formerly was with StatFox, which is no longer in business. He used to do a lot of that stuff there. He does some great research. I mean, going back to 2003 and 2009 and separate numbers, Mountain West like 22% against the spread.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just for some reason. I know there's talent there, but for some reason in this tournament, they do terrible.
Yeah, Mark's in the Playbook Magazine newsletter. Let's see, tournament champs from the Mountain West are just 2-9 against the spread in their last 11. And the Mountain in the first round.
And that's a tournament champ, which means they're the best team regular season.
No, tournament.
Well,
yeah.
Well, tournament, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is we can't trust the conference.
100%.
We can look at these teams and say, damn, they look good. And now, since here's an example. This game, when Colorado State, when they opened up, everybody was betting Colorado State. Went up to 3.5. Once the Mountain West team started to look like shit, it went down to 1. So, because people are looking at what we're looking at and say, hey, maybe this conference is no good, period. And we know Memphis is loaded with talent, even though they've had an injury that the guy hasn't played in a while.
Well, here's the thing, Jim, and I was looking over that. All right, so I'm glad you brought that up because this is important. All right, so they are not going to be with the services of Tyrese Hunter, who's out for this game. It sounds like he's out for the first weekend. So this is a really big player for them. This is a guy that averages 13, 3.8, 3.7, and also 1.5 steals. Okay, so what I don't like is this, and maybe I'm reading between the lines. I shouldn't be, but this is what you do to try to get information. I've been doing this long enough to when I hear when a team sounds like this, I think there's a problem. Penny Hardaway was talking about the injuries. Penny Hardaway says the teams that win, they don't get any injuries. They get everything going their way. And then you also had a quote from one of the players on Memphis about the injury, saying it's heartbreaking about him not being able to get a chance to play in the tournament when he should be able to play if they get to the Sweet 16. This is defeatist talk in my mind. I mean, I don't know why they're talking like this. Usually you hear a coach or a player, especially a coach, will talk like, well, you know what, next man up. You don't talk like, well, all the teams that get to win in the tournament, they get all the, you don't have the injuries, and you're already given like an excuse, and you haven't even played the game yet. So that's the thing I just caught that I'm a little bit concerned with. I could be overreacting to it. I'm just saying it's up to you to read it the way that I read it. PJ Haggerty, meanwhile, is a beast for Memphis. So you got to stop this guy. Memphis, like you said, they're a good team. They won 16 out of 17.
He's a tremendous player. And yeah, it's obviously this is talent-wise, man for man. You look at that and you say, well, Memphis has got the players. But Colorado State's been on one hell of a roll. And they figure they should be the favorite and they should win this game. However, it's that Mountain West question, and we can't really answer that question until after we see these games with New Mexico playing and Colorado State playing. If they want to save the reputation of the Mountain West, because this happened last year too, and the only thing we remember that's good that's happened in this tournament from the Mountain West was San Diego State a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So
that's why I wanted Boise in the tournament, because even though Colorado State beat the hell out of them in the championship game, Boise had been playing better, and they had been playing better than Utah State and San Diego State. But, that's the committee. And here's the other thing with Colorado State, which is why I think they have a shot. And that is that they've got good size. They got a couple of guys. One guy's 6'7", 250. Another guy's 6'8", 230. So sizing can be an issue. And they also have a player, this kid Clifford, who is just going off during this hot streak. I mean, he's their best player. So Memphis is Haggerty, but Colorado State has this kid Clifford that's going to be able to go mano-a-mano, and that's important too. And don't forget, in case you don't realize, you're new to watching us, Colorado State, we haven't mentioned it yet, Colorado State 10-0 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games, winning every game by 8 or more points. So that's the reason everybody's excited about Colorado State, but we'll find out whether or not. And you know what? I wish the New Mexico game was before this game, because that game would have definitely told me what the deal is with the Mountain West. But I guess we'll have to figure, because if Colorado State plays well and beats Memphis, because I kind of like New Mexico. We're going to get into that game in a little bit, but obviously that's a game that we want to probably wait until this game is over to decide what to do. Okay. Anyway, I'm sticking with Colorado State. There's no way I'm going against a run like this. I'm just not doing it. It's not my nature. What are you going to do? Are you staying away or are you picking a side?
I'm on Colorado State, but I made that play before I started to see what the Mountain West was doing, and now.
Well, how about right now?
Well, I'm still on them. I bet them.
You got new people that are watching. So what would you tell them to do right now?
I'd pass.
Okay, let's go to the next game, and that is going to be Duke. Here's one of those big spreads, 32. And there's the only sleeper that came through for me in the conference tournaments, Mount St. Mary's. So they're getting 32. Cooper Flagg is fine. He's going to play. And in this matchup, Mount St. Mary's, they're just as good as Duke against the spread. Both teams, actually, Duke is 10 games over 500, and Mount St. Mary's is 11 games over 500 as far as the spread. Mount St. Mary's is 12-3 in their last 15, 11-3-1 against the spread in those games, and they've covered 7 straight overall. Meanwhile, they have 2 players. This is the really ironic thing, that average combined 20 points a game, that were both injured before the Metro Atlantic, whatever the hell they call it, the conference tournament, which is even crazier to think that this team is going on this run with both of those guys out. But I was looking at their stats, Jim, and in the first round game, this is a team that shoots 35% from 3. That's okay. That's about 100 and around there, 150, middle of the road. But yeah. So they start the tournament, the first round tournament of the conference tournament. They shoot 38% against Marist. So then they go to the next game and they shoot 36. Actually, it was I think the Marist game, because I think they won. I don't know if they won 3 or 4. Let me see, because I've got 4 games here. Let me see. Yeah. All right. They did play 4 games. Okay. First game, they shoot 38% from 3. Second, 36%. But then they shoot 38% and then 41% against American in the first 4 games. So they just keep getting their last 3 games, 36, 38, 41. They just keep shooting better from 3, which is the reason why they've been hanging around.
Well, they're going to face a tougher defensive.
Yeah, that's for sure.
A tougher defense and better athletes. The real question here with Flag is will the coach use him a lot? Well, he'll probably get some minutes.
Yeah.
But the question
take him out at halftime, right?
The question is Duke really Duke as we have seen them with him being injured? Because they could easily just give him a half a game or give him a quarter of the game to play, and they should be able to handle the squad anyway. So it's a hard play for me because I don't know who I'm playing, and I don't know his status. So for me,
32.
So for me, I'd like to see them get a big lead at Duke, and I'd play the second half, probably play the dog, because I figure the coach is going to take them out.
Okay. All right. Let's now go to the other game, St. Mary's next game at 3:15 and Vanderbilt. This is a 4.5-point spread for St. Mary's. I believe that line has come down a little bit. St. Mary's and Vandy. The key here is that St. Mary's has won 18 of their last 20. Vandy, meanwhile, just 3-6 in their last 9, 0-3 in their last 3, straight up and against the spread, losing all games by 7 or more points. So I think this is just one of those situations where you have a team, and we've seen already a few of those teams yesterday, that if they were struggling coming in, it's not going to change. And that's what I kind of see here with Vandy. I don't think they're just going to turn it on. St. Mary's is just a better team. And I expect this St. Mary's team, because I do think that this is the best St. Mary's team that their coach Bennett has had. And I think 4.5 is not a lot to give up.
I agree. We don't look at St. Mary's as being a blowout team, but we do look at them as being super efficient, very well coached. And now here's another one where we have to reference another conference team. Did you see what Gonzaga did to Georgia?
Yeah, again, another situation where
I mean, my God.
But again, I think the Georgia game was similar to Clemson, where if you're not shooting the ball, I mean, you're dead. You're dead.
Well, yeah, but it also has to do with the defense they're playing against. And I said it before. When you look at the metrics of Gonzaga, they should have been a 10-point favorite in that game. And the line kept going up anyway. Yeah. And they're almost to get to that point. The problem was they play a soft conference, and they play games sometimes that they just don't show up. If they show up with that talent, we'll
talk about them. Yeah, we'll talk about them when they.
But that has to do that relates to this game. That's why I'm talking about it. Mm-hmm. If Gonzaga is that good, if they're that good, This
And
St.
they beat him twice.
This St. Mary's team gets a boost, which is that's why I'm referring to it. So St. Mary's might be a little bit better than and they look good anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with St. Mary's in this game.
Yeah, and when we talk about that game later, that's going to be a good one to talk about. Gonzaga and Houston. That's going to be a good one. All right. Let's now talk about North Carolina, Mississippi. And here's this North Carolina team that decided to, I guess, shove it up everybody's ass on, what was it, Tuesday in the first four game against San Diego State. And they just shot like lights out. They were the exact opposite of being cold like Georgia and Clemson. They shot 58% from three. And they had come off a 18% three-point shooting game against Duke. So what a difference. Meanwhile, they have now also have a streak, thanks from the Playbook newsletter, 19-1 straight up in their last 20 round one games. They're also 9-2 straight up and against the spread in their last 11, with both losses straight up to Duke. Ole Miss, meanwhile, this is another reason why I just really like North Carolina in this game. That's because Ole Miss is one of these teams that's just not playing well.
They're not playing, they've limped into this. There's no question. This is a North Carolina play or no play at all. Definitely North Carolina's the right side.
Ole Miss 3-11-1 against the spread in their last 15 games. That's not all that great, obviously. And by the way, when Ole Miss beat Alabama on the road on January 14th, which was a huge win for them, it happened to be the pinnacle of their season. They've never returned to that since that win on the road against Alabama. And they started the season 15-2 straight up, 12-5 against the spread. Since that time, they ended the season 7-9 straight up, 4-11-1 against the spread. They're also 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 round one tournament games. Let's now go to another interesting potential long shot, and that's Grand Canyon and Maryland. And, we talked about how we know how talented that Maryland front five is. Very talented, just as talented as almost every team in college basketball. The problem, Jim, is they don't have a bench. They only have five. They're all 5 players that are in double figures we're talking about. They don't have another player that averages over 4 points a game. So it's all about their top 5 guys. But sometimes, you can get away with that in these tournaments because you're not playing back-to-backs and all that kind of stuff. But Grand Canyon does have a pretty deep bench, and they also have size. They have 2 players, 6'7" or bigger. They have a 6'8" guy. They got a 6'10" guy. They're 56-12 in the last 2 years. They beat St. Mary's last year in the first round, then lost to Alabama in the second round by only 11. They're on a 14-2 streak. They're also on a 6-1 ATS last 7 streak. Maryland, meanwhile, their head coach, Kevin Willard, has not been all that great come tournament time. He's only 2-6 straight up. I'm taking Grand Canyon as one of my upsets. I think if you're looking for a really good double-digit upset team, I think this is as good as you're going to get.
I agree that Grand Canyon's a bet. And I took you're going to have to make sure you get double digits. Take 10.5 for 11. This is one of those games where they look to be Maryland's the favorite. Maryland's the favorite, and they deserve to be the favorite. But this is the kind of team that can actually step up and beat you. Maryland is very, very good, but they're not deep. Yeah, Grand Canyon is the right side here, but I got to get double digits, preferably 10.5, 11.
And I also looked at Maryland's schedule, and they have 7 wins versus tourney teams, which is okay. Nothing great, nothing bad. But 2 of those 20 teams are Mount St. Mary's and St. Francis of Pennsylvania. So their only other 5 wins against tourney teams this year are UCLA, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois twice. They've also lost to Washington and Northwestern. So this is a vulnerable team. They're also a very talented team that can go to the Final Four. So we'll see what happens in this one. I think it'll be a good one. And that, again, is coming up at 4:30 today. All right, here's that Norfolk State, Florida game you talked about, Jim. It's 28.5. And this is one of those big ones that I'm sure your friend's going to play. Florida 26-8 against the spread. We have to keep mentioning that, besides them being such a good team. Norfolk State's only been 1-6 against the spread in their last 7. They lost to Baylor by 25, but they only lost to Tennessee by 15 as a 30-point road dog. But what do you think about this big spread?
Well, Florida is one of my Final Four teams. I got Florida playing Houston in the final matchup. I think this is the best or the second best team in the country, and it's by short. It's close because there's so many damn good teams. Norfolk doesn't belong in the court. It's a 30-point game. That's if Florida wants to win this game, it should be around 30.
Okay,
28, 30 points.
So you're going to give the 28, or you're going to stay away from this one?
Well, I'm not laying it because that's exactly what I think it should be.
Okay.
But that's the kind of a game where if I had a 4-point difference in my number versus the number, I would probably play it. But it's not. There's no spread, but they deserve to be that big a spread.
Troy and Kentucky, and this is a 7-10 game Friday night tonight. And this is going to be one of those other double-digit teams that I'm going to go with. Troy, coming out of the Sun Belt, they had that win over Arkansas State, which was a nice win because Arkansas State, as we mentioned, was a team that had a couple of really good non-conference games on their schedule. They were playing tough, but they beat them up by 13. They're red hot right now. They've won 6 straight up and against the spread, including 5 of 6 by 12 or more points, as well as that championship game by 13. The Sun Belt champs, by the way, according to Playbook's college basketball newsletter, which there's a link in the description for that, have covered 3 straight round 1 games. They're 20-11 against the spread this year. Troy is. They got a 10-man rotation. They've got player Tatum Conaway. Is a good player, and he's going to be kind of mano-a-mano with Owe, who's a very talented kid for Kentucky. But there's some warts with Kentucky, Jim. A couple here. Mark Pope, the head coach, first year, but he's 0-2 in the tournament. Of course, that was with BYU, I believe. This is Kentucky, different talented team. But Kentucky's 8-8 in their last 16, and they have lost 7 games this year by double digits. And one of those was the last game they played. They lost by 29 points to Alabama. That's the last time we've seen Kentucky. They also are playing the tournament without Jackson Robinson, a key player in the rotation who averages 13 points a game.
Now, what's the number that we're looking at now?
This spread is 11.5.
Yeah, this is definitely a Troy take for me. Definitely.
Yeah, this is my third of the double-digit upsets I'm going to play with. And the thing, too, that what I like to do with these upsets is, like, if I play all 3 double-digit upsets, I only need one of them to come through to be in the positive. So that's all I got to do. So I'm not saying it's easy, but that's my hope. And heck, if I get 2 of them, I'm really doing well. All right, now here comes that New Mexico game. Against Marquette. So Marquette's a 4-point favorite against the team that's been the best team all year in the Mountain West, New Mexico. And this is a team that also played in the tournament last year. A majority of the players are different, but Pitino's got them right back in the tournament. Last year, they had to win the tournament, sort of like Colorado State to get in. This year, they're in because they're the first place team. They have a couple of really good players. Donovan Dent averages 20 a game, 6 assists. Nelly Jr. Joseph, 14-11, double-double guy. They're a good rebound margin team. And they're going up against a Marquette team that's rebound margin percentage is 277th in the country. So if New Mexico is going to win this game, they're going to have to dominate on the boards. Marquette's also not a very good 3-point shooting team. They've lost 7 of their last 12 games coming into the tournament, just 4-8 against the spread in those games. And of course, they do have one of the best players in the country, though, in Lamont Jones, which is one of the big reasons that Marquette is in the tournament.
Well, and they've had a tougher schedule. Again, we're getting Mountain West team. I like New Mexico. I like Colorado State. But I have to modify everything I say about it because of the conference. Now, Patino, this may be the end for him in New Mexico because he's being mentioned for a lot of jobs around the country, including Villanova, by the way.
Makes sense.
Which would be interesting. But he likely will move because he's big, just like the players moving around with
right.
These coaches are moving around as well.
Come with me to Villanova.
And a lot of times this is crazy. I don't like what's going on in college basketball with regards to this, but he might take a lot of his players with him. Yep. Because the players can now move too.
Yeah.
So he goes and he says, oh, there goes the team. So this is we've never had the handicap this way. Oh, this is their last game, not just for the coach, but for the entire team might leave.
Well, there was a situation that surprised a lot of people, and it actually didn't affect them, and that was McNeese State, because their head coach is going to take the job at NC State, and everybody knows it, and yet they still beat Clemson. But again, that's why I was saying that's a game where Clemson just couldn't shoot, so they couldn't do anything about it. But yeah, they already knew that their coach was going to leave, and it didn't really affect them. So,
now that this open is out there, a lot of the coaches are talking about it with the players, basically saying today is a different market where you can choose to leave and I can choose to leave.
Yeah.
So we realize that we're together for now. We stick together. We play together. We play hard. We work on the now. What happens in the future if I go?
Come with me.
Yes, this is the craziest situation, but it's going on right now, and it's different. We've never had to deal with stuff like this before. So yeah, New Mexico moved, and he might take 2 or 3 or 4 players with him.
Akron at Arizona, and I was kind of surprised at the line here being 14.5. This is 7:30 tonight, only because Akron is just so hot right now, and they're an offensive team. They've won 20 of their last 21 games. They have 9 players who average over 6 points a game. This is their third NCAAs in the last 4 years. They lost to Creighton last year by 17 in round 1. They lost to UCLA in 2022 by 4. And their head coach, the former Illinois coach, has experience in the NCAAs. John Groch is 4-5 in the NCAAs. Arizona, meanwhile, they are actually not a very good team in round 1s as far as the spread is concerned from the Playbook newsletter. 0-6-1 against the spread in the last 7 round 1 matchups. Here's the crazy way Arizona's season's gone. They started the season 4-5. Then they won 13 out of 14. Then to end the regular season, they went 3-5 in their last 8. Then they went to the Big 12 tournament, won their first 2 games against good teams, and then lost a competitive game against Houston in the championship game. So Arizona has been kind of up and down. You don't know what you're getting. But like I said, I think this is a lot of points, don't you?
I do. And by the way these teams play and the pace they play, I like this game over.
Okay. And let's see. That is at 167.5. So that's 14.5. And Jim likes.
So I like the dog in the over.
67 over. Okay. Let's now go to the last games for Friday night. And that is going to be Oklahoma and UConn. We got 4 more to go. 9:25 start. UConn is a 5.5-point favorite in this one. And this was an easy one for me when I was looking over my bracket. All right, no doubt I'm taking UConn. I just think they're the better team. But this is also a situation where I kind of like Oklahoma in the points, because Oklahoma ended their season really strong. They won 4 out of 7, covering all 7 games, and the 3 losses were by 1 to Kentucky in the SEC tournament, 3 at Ole Miss, and 1 at home against Kentucky late in the regular season. So they're playing great, and when they're losing short. So the team's hot coming in. I'm going to go ahead and ride Oklahoma in the points.
We have a 2-time defending champion here with Hurley on the sidelines. Very difficult game for me to handicap. They have not had a great season. He's been a little bit out of control. He's a very passionate guy. Boy, I'll tell you, I don't think they're going out without a whimper. I'm not going to play this. I'll probably play it in game, watch it, and probably react to what's going on the floor. But pre-game, I'm not going to play it.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Illinois and Xavier. And everybody, if you've been watching this show, you know which way I'm going.
Well,
so
we both got saved the other night. Xavier looked like they were dead. And then they came back and that end of that game was just perfect. Perfect.
Yep. And so they win that game against Texas, and they're now taking on a Jekyll and Hyde of teams from this season, and that's Illinois. They are 4-4 in their last 8. Big surprise. They win, they lose. They won 3 of those games. Oh, excuse me. They won. Wait, is it? It's actually during that stretch. They won 2 of those games by 20 points or more. And they also lost for all 4 of those games. They lost by 11, 14, 23, and 43. So you don't know if they're going to win by double digits or lose by double digits.
This is a Jekyll and Hyde team. Illinois has got tremendous talent. They could do tremendous things if they could get it together for 3 or 4 games. They go a long way. They are very talented. But what number are you looking at right now? What's
3.5?
I'd buy it to 4 and take Xavier. I'd just take the 4. Make sure you get 4.
Xavier 8-1 straight up, 7-2 against the spread in their last 9, and again, thanks to the newsletter. That's why you got to buy it, because I'm only giving you like little bits of information. There's tons of information in there. Xavier has won 6 straight round 1 NCAA games. Okay, now let's go to the last 2. Bryant and Michigan State. This is another one of those big spreads. It's up to 17 here, but Bryant's being a little bit respected. You know, it's 17. It's not that big. And in this one, you got a Michigan State team very good against the spread this year, 22-10. Bryant has won 9 out of 10, and they won all American East tournament games by 11 or more. Michigan State, meanwhile, has won 8 out of 9 straight up and against the spread. They were on an 8-game winning streak when they lost to Wisconsin in the semis. And what do you think about this one? It's a big spread.
Ooh. I'd be inclined to take Bryant here because the type of pace that they play, et cetera, et cetera. But boy, you're going up against Izzo here, and he's got this team rolling. 27-6 on the season, 21-10 against the spread, 97 in their last 8 games power rating, which was 92 through the year. So this is they're moving. They're moving and they're shaking, and now they did lose the Wisconsin game by 3. Yes, they did that.
Which might have been a benefit to them to get some time off.
It could have been, yeah, because they got a little rest, 6 days off now. They're tough. They're really, really.
Are you taking the points in this one? Or are you staying away?
What's the number?
17.5.
I'd probably take the points. It's high enough for me to say they could squeeze under it, but it's really close. It certainly won't be a big play.
Okay.
Boy, I could easily see them winning by 20. It's a small play.
Okay. Last one, 10-10 start, Liberty in Oregon. Oregon's only a 7-point favorite in this one, so a lot of respect for Liberty. Liberty is 20-10 against the spread on the season. And this is a good Liberty team. They're the Conference USA champs who have won 11 out of 12, 7-4-1 against the spread in those games. They're 6th in the nation in three-point percentage. They're 3rd in the nation in three-point percentage defense. And their head coach, very good coach, he's been there for 12 years, Richie McKay. He has a really good record. They were a dominant A-Sun team. They've beaten Kansas State and McNeese State this year, so they do have a couple of nice non-conference wins. Oregon, meanwhile, another team that had sort of like an Arizona kind of season. Oregon started the year 16-3. Then they lost 5 straight games. Then they ended the season with 7 straight wins in the regular season, started the tournament with a win over Indiana by 13, and lost a pretty tough game against Michigan State by 10 in the second round. There's nothing to feel bad about to lose to Michigan State. Oregon has won 7 straight round 1 games as per the Playbook newsletter. And Dana Altman is a very good tournament coach. He's been to 16 NCAAs, 17-16 record, 1 Final Four appearance. And don't forget, Oregon won the Players Era tourney earlier this year by beating both Texas A&M and Alabama. I just think this is a tough matchup for Liberty. I would have liked to have seen Liberty against a team that might have been struggling coming into the tournament with Oregon's kind of resume, like an Ole Miss. I just think this is just a little tough for Liberty, but I think this should be a close game.
Now, what's the number you're looking at here?
7.5.
Okay. What I saw 6.5 on this, so it's starting to get a little bit more where it should be. The game should be 8.5. And this is where I talked about at the beginning, where some of these teams, because the people were betting the underdogs to try to win, and even money line bets, they're getting a little bit too much respect. So the numbers are shaded by 2 or 3 points, and the favorites should be a little bit higher, which is why you're seeing like the Yale's not covering. It should have been 10. They lose by 9. But the line went down to 7.
Well, remember, there were a lot of people who liked Yale.
Pardon?
There were a lot of people who thought Yale could have won the game outright.
Yeah, including me, which cost me money. But my point is this: if the public likes to bet underdogs and they're looking for the upsets, the number that you're getting is shaded.
Uh-huh.
So you're giving up something. You're paying a tax. You're paying a price for Liberty plus 8.5. I'd be on them. But what I read, because that's what the right number is. It's not 6.5 or 7, which it's been. So that's what I'm saying is we have to be a little bit more careful of being so enthusiastic about picking these dogs, because they're not getting the right price.
Sure.
And that was my point.
Yeah. Again, that all depends on I think out of a lot of these teams, Liberty, I think they are like I said, I think it's a bad matchup for them, but they're a for real, mid-major. They're one of those mid-major teams.
I like the way they're playing. I mean, I definitely don't think it's a blowout. I think they should be close. I think they most likely should lose the game by 8 points. 7, 6, 10.
So you'll stay away from that game.
Unless I see some money come in and push me. If I can get 8.5, I'm going to probably play Liberty.
All right, let's run through the picks once more. So Baylor, Mississippi State, you're taking Baylor?
Yes.
You're taking Alabama and the over against Robert Morris. That's 22, and the over is 165.5.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take Robert Morris. And I got Baylor. I'm taking Lipscomb, and so are you?
Yes.
They're getting 14. We're both taking Colorado State minus 1.5. Okay, let's go to the next. We're both taking North Carolina minus 1.5.
Yes.
We're both taking Grand Canyon getting 10.
Yes. Well, I got 10.5. My recommendation was take 10.5 for 11.
Let's see. Duke 32. You're staying away from that one?
I'm not playing that. What I'm gonna watch for halftime. I'm hoping Duke is up, and I'm hoping the coach will sit the kid.
And you'll take then Mount St. Mary's depending on the line. Okay.
Correct.
St. Mary's 4.5. We both have St. Mary's.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Florida 28.5. Are you staying away from that one, or are you taking them?
Yeah, I made the line the same, so no, I'm not playing that.
We're both taking Troy, getting 11.5 from Kentucky.
Right.
As of right now, I'm taking New Mexico. Are you two 4-point dog against Marquette?
Small play.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're both taking Akron 14.5, plus you're taking the over 167.5.
Yes.
I'm taking Oklahoma plus 5.5. What are you doing in that UConn game? Nothing.
Nothing.
I'm taking Xavier, getting 3.5 from Illinois. Are you taking Xavier?
I bought it to 4.
Okay. And then Michigan State 17.5. You're taking Bryant and the points.
Yes.
And then you're staying away from Oregon and Liberty. And I'm taking Liberty plus the 7.5.
Correct.
Okay, so there you go. Again, like I said, I mean, I don't know if it's going to work out for me, but I do think the dogs are going to rule the day today. And if they don't, I'm in big trouble. So, but that's the way it is. You never know. Conference in college basketball. What could happen, though, of course, if all the favorites do have another good day today, then that means the Sweet 16. You're going to get a lot of these good teams that are coming off good days. Matching up against each other. But we still have another round to go before we get to the Sweet 16. And Jim and I are going to return later on today. And maybe it'll even be live. It's possible. Matter of fact, it probably will be, since it's going to be peak time of the day. So check out. That's why you always want to subscribe to the channel, of course, because you'll be notified, hit that notification bell whenever we're going to be live and doing one of those shows, including the live show we're going to do on Monday to preview the Sweet 16 with Andy and hopefully a few other of our handicappers here. So look out for us again later on today as we take a look at round two games on Saturday, and we're going to do the same thing tomorrow night when we take a look at round 2 games on Sunday. So Jim, appreciate you getting up real early Vegas time. And are you going back to sleep?
I have to say that our half-hour show turned into an hour show.
We couldn't, no matter what, we could not get it to, not even close.
Well, I had to sign off the other day at about an hour and 20 minutes. I was shocked to hear that it went 2.5 hours. I couldn't believe it.
This is crazy. I know. I couldn't even get the thing posted up on the site until like 12 o'clock midnight Eastern time. Anyway, that's it for our show. We'll see you guys again later on. Jim, I'll see you later on.
Okay. Have a good one.
Good luck, everybody.